Hello, welcome to CBM Calling. I'm so thankful that you've joined us today. I have a very special guest today on CBM Calling. It's Colonel Barbara Putnam. Barbara is the Director of Chaplaincy Services for the Royal Canadian Chaplain Service. She is the first woman and first Baptist chaplain to ever hold this rank. Barb, it is so good to see you. Welcome to CBM Calling.
Thanks, Jennifer. It's such a delight to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Barb, I think people are probably thinking, like, I want to know more about this woman. And that's what I thought when I first met you too. You're the first, you were a Baptist pastor before you ever became a military chaplain. I'm fascinated by this. You were serving in the Atlantic provinces as a pastor. What made you want to become a chaplain? You've been doing that for over 20 years now. I'm just wondering, how did you discover this call to chaplaincy?
Well, I never really once considered it during my call to pastoral ministry, even though there's a history of family military service for my family, and on Remembrance Day especially. And thanks for doing this during Remembrance Week. I always think of them. So I have a couple of pictures I'd actually brought to share with you. A photo of my dad, who served in the military at the very end of World War II. He didn't deploy overseas because the war was ending. He was just kind of joining up at that particular time. And among several other relatives that have served, like I have photos of my grandfather and my great-grandfather that I have carry around with me, especially during this particular time. There was my great uncle served in the First World War, and he was 18 when the hospital ship that he was on, the Landovery Castle, was sunk by a German U-boat. And so there's a memorial cross, a picture of the memorial cross that I hold that's very dear, that was given to my great grandmother. And interestingly enough, it was one of the very first memorial crosses, we would call them a silver cross today as well, to be presented to Canadians by King George V. So that's pretty special to me. And I always have that in my pocket on Remembrance Day. And my niece just finished 20 years of military service herself. So we've got a bit of a family history there, but I'd never contemplated it. So as my call to chaplaincy came, I started to realize what a great fit it actually was for me. As scary a concept as it was, really. But one step at a time, the doors opened and I walked through them. And I've continued to do that for the last 20 years, walk through doors with the incredible support of my dear husband, Brad. So, but when my call to chaplaincy came, I was fortunate that I already had an MDiv from Acadia. I'd already been ordained and I'd already had a couple of pastorates. And so it became very easy for me to be accepted at that point and head off to basic training. And since then, I've been posted to several places like Petawawa and Gagetown and Toronto and now here. So that's kind of how it happened.
And now you're based in Ottawa. Is that right?
Yeah, we've been here now for about 9 years.
Can you explain more about the role of military chaplains? And, I think there's probably a lot of people who are Canadian Baptists and have maybe even been lifelong Canadian Baptists who don't know about this aspect of our work that we do, of Baptist pastors as military chaplains. Can you explain more about, why what they do is so critical?
Yes, I would love to do that. And there's a few photos that we can cycle through just as I talk. I won't mention them specifically, but our chaplains, whatever they do, a lot of the time they're behind the scenes. So we don't have a lot of photos to show, and because they're often behind the scenes, and unless they're called upon to do a ceremony or something, we don't have them. So we treasure these ones, and they were all sent to me by our currently serving Baptist chaplains over the last couple of days. So if any of them are out there, I hope they see themselves in these photos. So in general, I would say that that our chaplains provide three specific things for the Canadian Forces. Very much a ministry of presence. We do religious and spiritual services, and we provide advice to leadership. And each one of those three things are an umbrella for the extraordinary work that chaplains do across Canada. They do on operations and then postings outside of Canada. And they work very hard, all of our chaplains, to care for Canadian Armed Forces members, to advocate for them, to meet them in their time of need. We offer direct support to families, And we build and run programs and services who are accessible to those who are facing spiritual and mental health challenges. I do have one specific photo that I wouldn't mind sharing, and that is of our chaplain, Padre Brenda Zwicker, who was on board the HMCS Fredericton when we lost the cyclone helicopter in the Mediterranean back in April. And Brenda's an incredibly gifted chaplain, and her ministry of presence on board the Freddie was invaluable to the ship's company as they dealt with that incredible grief and the loss of their shipmates so far from home. And our chaplains, I'm proud to say, are exceptionally qualified to provide ministry in these kind of devastating situations. And on this Remembrance Day, this will be the very first one that we remember the Stalker crew. So a shout out to Brenda and a shout out to the ship's company of the HMCS Fredericton right now.
Yes, for sure. Another question I have, Barb, is, as a woman, I am curious about what is perceived as a very male-dominated culture within the armed forces. I don't know if that's fair, if it's not fair, but that's just kind of the perception that I have. You are the first female chaplain colonel. I don't know if that's a proper title, but you're the first colonel to hold that position, first female colonel to hold this position. What has your experience been as a woman working within this setting?
Well, it has been an incredible journey these past 20 years, from start to where I am now. And in 2012, I was promoted from the rank of major to the rank of lieutenant colonel, and became the very first Baptist to reach that rank since the Korean War. So that was very special. And then in 2016, my promotion to colonel was the first among women from any of the faith groups that are represented in the Canadian Forces. And while that's a milestone, it truly is, I want to strongly acknowledge the work of the amazing women who have gone before us, before me, the trailblazing that they have done, and also my male and female colleagues whose dedication and belief in our common work has inspired our chaplaincy to knock down barriers to service for everyone. I think we have a photo I absolutely adore of all the women chaplains, almost all of them, that we were gathered. I guess it was last summer we were gathered, and it's a delightful photo, and it just gives me such hope and such joy to look at all those faces and know that they have committed themselves to service in this environment. The chaplaincy is seeing interest from women, but we are still very much a minority inside this organization. With myself as the highest ranking women, we have women working at 4 out of the 5 rank levels in the chaplaincy. Oh. And we've attracted incredibly strong and talented women from a large variety of faith groups, and each of them, they contribute so generously in caring for our military members and families, and they hold positions of senior leadership. Now, it's true to say, as your question indicated, that it's a male-dominated organization, male-dominated chaplaincy, and it's true. Sometimes women face challenges to their leadership, to their style of ministry, and in some cases, even to their very presence. But that being said, because I think that's true across a lot of trades, I would add that we are very blessed by the work that's being done in the Canadian Forces to build diversity and inclusion, and in changing policies to support equality and equity. We have a lot more ground to travel, but I do believe that positive change is absolutely inevitable. And the women that we have in the chaplaincy right now, they are incredibly bright. They are dripping in leadership skills. And if they remain in the organization, I know that we're going to see the change that we hope for.
Oh, I love that. Barb, when I was appointed into my position at CBM, I had a lot of young women who reached out to me and said, wow, a woman can actually move into the highest levels of leadership. And, that actually signals to me that I want to be part of, of CBM family, because it means that we're an organization that doesn't only look to gender as a deciding factor as to whether or not you can be a leader. And I think the same could be said, Barb, about your appointment, that there's young women probably watching this saying, you know what, she's broken a barrier here. And this is maybe something that I can consider for my future as well. I think it talks about possibilities, I think, for women. So yay, way to go, Barb. I'm
Yes.
very
And you
I'm
too.
thrilled I am thrilled for you.
And me for you too. Just a little mutual admiration.
Yeah, that's right.
Congratulations on
We'll
your
pat
appointment.
ourselves on the back here. We like each other. One of the things you talked about earlier was just about the mental health aspect, about chaplains providing care for mental health. I mean, our armed forces must live under such stressful, it's such a stressful environment to be working and living under. There can be trauma related to experiences that they've had. I mean, is there enough care for the kind of the emotional health, of the spiritual and mental health of our military personnel?
Oh, that's such a great question, Jennifer. It's a difficult one to answer because the answer can be yes, no, and we're doing better all the time. But many years ago, a very wise chaplain saw the benefit of working with mental health professionals, and relationships have been built over time that integrate chaplains into the full spectrum of care for our ill and injured members. And we tend that relationship with health services very carefully because we see the benefit of comprehensive care for all of our members. And our chaplains are on the front lines as trusted, confidential resources to talk to for anyone at any time. We work on practicing our spiritual fitness. We promote spiritual resilience. We encourage and train members in peer support to recognize symptoms of difficulty among our military members. And all of what we do has a spiritual perspective, but is adaptive to be a benefit for everyone, regardless of their faith tradition or their belief system. We truly are here to serve everyone. And because of the nature of our work, chaplains are obviously encouraged to remain spiritually healthy themselves and resilient. And we have the same access to mental and physical support systems that all of our members do. And we ask all of our chaplains, myself included, to maintain a connection with our own faith traditions, our own denominations, so we can stay healthy throughout all of the entirety of our careers. And some years ago, our Baptist caucus, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but we recognized the need to care intentionally for our own chaplains, our own Baptist chaplains, so they can have a great career, and at the end, they're not broken. They are healthy and able to continue on if they wish back in our churches. And we set up a mentoring and advisory program for them. And now we come together in small cell groups to exchange ideas, to offer support, to pray for one another. Because despite being separated geographically, we need to find ways to care and support each other, and we do that. So it's a work in progress, obviously, but we're getting there. Yeah.
Do you want to go back to the Baptist caucus and explain what that is?
Well, as we talk about, how people can find out more about this great ministry that we do, sure.
Tell us more. So how can people be more involved? People are saying, I want to find out more. What do chaplains do? What do, Canadian Baptist chaplains do? Where can they go?
Where can they go? It just strikes me just how great this is to do this just before Remembrance Day, especially when in a year when this solemn observation is going to be very different for all of us. We can't really gather together, but it's not going to be that different that we can't stop wherever we are in the 11th hour to honor the courage and the valor and the sacrifice of all Canada's veterans. And a shout out to the Royal Canadian Legion. We are very grateful to them, who faithfully keeps us on track with these solemn ceremonies year after year. And so each year, as we celebrate or observe Remembrance Day, military chaplains, we trace our history back a long, long way to many missions, many battlefields, and many examples of those who put their lives on the line to care for the spiritual well-being of our soldiers, sailors, and aviators. And we are so proud of this history, and it's hard to stop us from talking about it. So here we are. And so we are always on the lookout for those who might be discerning a call to this ministry. So let me tell you, to be a chaplain, you first have to be endorsed by your denomination, a Baptist somewhere. And Canadian Baptist Ministries, shout out to you guys. You are the endorsing body for all Baptists in Canada. And you have an agent that helps you with that. And
Yes.
I'm going to pop up his picture right now, Reverend Jeremy Bell.
Yes, Jeremy.
There's Jeremy. And he's been doing this for a very, very long time. And he is uniquely qualified to answer questions about the process, the requirements. And I didn't count, but I'm pretty sure that he's endorsed about 90% of our serving Baptist chaplains right now. And under his leadership, we have grown to over 50 chaplains from more than 10 different Baptist denominations.
Amazing.
I was number 8 of that list, and now we're over 50. So
wow,
it's amazing to see the growth that we've had. And so you can see maybe there's a photo of our Baptist chaplains at work around a conference table where we're doing our thing. And I'll show you a few photos as well as some of our graduates, recent graduates who have come to us. Some of these faces might be familiar to you. And they've just added so much to our caucus life. And one of the ways that we do that is our caucus, getting highly organized under Major Jim Hardwick, we've appointed a chaplain who's dedicated to attraction and recruitment. And that person tracks inquiries and processes files and keeps in touch with people who are interested. And those photos of the graduates really highlight the success we've had with our recruiting efforts. So to find out more, to join us, and there's a beautiful photo of all of our chaplains all dressed up in their mess uniforms for a very special occasion. So if you want to join this fine-looking group, you can Google us, Canadian Armed Forces Chaplains, or visit a website. If you have the website to put up there, you can see that. Yeah. One, just to get information, I think there would be a 1-800 number there somewhere as well. And you can invite a chaplain to come and speak in your church when COVID's over, of course, or by Zoom. We're all very interested in finding new and innovative ways to share the opportunities. You can stop by a booth at any one of our convention assemblies. There's always a chaplain or 2 or 10 at a booth who are anxious to share the story, can explain more in depth the joys and the demands of service. It's definitely not for everyone, but for those who are discerning the call, it's great to talk face to face with someone. And we have opportunities to serve full-time and also part-time in the reserves. And any one of us would be delighted to talk to you about all the options that we have.
That's great.
That's how to do it.
Oh, so that sounds great. I think there's going to be a lot of people going on that website to find out more. I think this is a chance for us to just say thank you to Jeremy Bell for the great work he has done over the years. And he is so passionate about this, about military chaplaincy. I think the first time I really heard about this aspect of CBM's involvement in it was through Jeremy, and just the excitement and passion he brings to it. And he just has a love for the military chaplains and the work that you do, the ministry that you do, that is so incredibly unique. And I think Jeremy was the perfect person to do the role that he does, coordinating that for us. So thanks.
Yeah, he's truly a member of our military family now. We've adopted him, and we love him dearly. And we pray for him as he prays for us all of the time. And the bigger we get, and the more bureaucracy and administration that's required, the more we seek him for his wise counsel and his sage advice, and great stories too.
Yeah, always with Jeremy, always great stories.
Yeah. And so while we thank Jeremy, I want to thank you, Jennifer, and all of CBM for continuing to support this very unique ministry that we have, to give us this opportunity today to talk about it. and for maintaining these connections with what we're doing, so we're not kind of alone out here in the field.
Definitely not. Thank you so much, Barb, and for everything that you shared today. I mean, I hope for people that are watching today, and later on as well, because they can see the show later, even if they couldn't catch it live. They've learned a lot more about the important work that you're doing as military chaplains. And thank you so much, Barb, for your leadership in that. We want to take a few minutes to say hello to people that are watching with us today. So Gordon Brew, my colleague Gordon, says, what great pictures. So Barb, all that work you did putting together your pictures, he says they're really great pictures. So that's great. I really think it helped to illustrate what you were talking about. So thank you for taking the time to do that. Kathleen Susi, our field staff, who is a Latin America team leader, says, nice to be with you. My father was a naval officer and we moved 18 times in 25 years. Church for our family was always a challenge. My son-in-law is a Chinook pilot. Today is such a different reality. I'm thankful to know you are there for our armed forces personnel. Oh, that's lovely,
Fabulous.
Kathleen.
Thank
That's so
you for your
great.
service. Yeah.
And of course, Randy Stanton. That's how we met you, Barb. That's in person is through Randy, of course, our colleague Randy in Atlantic Canada. Colonel Putnam has been a great leader in breaking the glass ceiling for Baptists and women, but she has earned every bit of this appointment. Absolutely. Hard work and grace. Thanks. And Acadia Divinity College says, very proud of our alumni, Colonel Putnam. I'm sure they are very proud of you, as we all are. And Barb Keys, my colleague, says, so great to see the graduates. Oh, Graham Ware, Rob Spicer. Oh my goodness, so many faces that she knows there. John Campbell. She names a whole bunch of people.
That's great.
That she knows. Oh, Jeremy is watching us on YouTube apparently. So that's great. It's a good thing we gave him a shout out then, isn't it? We might have heard about it later if we did. So, no, I'm glad you're joining us, Jeremy. And oh my goodness, there's a lot of comments today, Barb. We're going to be here all afternoon trying to read all the comments, but there's a whole bunch of other people as well. But I have to end it with Estella Ng, who is our faithful follower and of CBM Calling and just a supporter of CBM in so many ways through prayer and so many ways. And she says, praying for you, Chaplain Barbara. Thank you for your service. I think that's a good way for us to end our call today.
That's lovely.
Yes,
thank you, Estella. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Barb, again, for joining us today. I think as we're heading toward Remembrance Day, it was very appropriate that we had you on today. And thank you for the lovely stories and photos you shared about your own family. And we will, of course, be remembering all those who have faithfully served our country as we come to Remembrance Day tomorrow. So thank you and blessings on your ministry.
It's my pleasure. Thank you too. Blessings to all of you.
Bye, everyone.